Hey everyone, welcome back to I don't know what we're talking about. So, is this a Canadian Gamers? Is it a
Oh, let's make it the fanboys since
perfect
we're the we're the
fanboys?
we're the Nintendo fanboys here. We got to represent. We
All
haven't
right,
done one in
represent the
years.
fanboys. So, I found this guy. He was just loitering around and so yeah, what you been up to, man? What's going on? It's been like a year. You've left me alone
Yeah,
with Tim,
man.
you bastard.
Where are you? Are you like in England or something? What's behind you?
What do you
There's no
mean?
snow there.
Snow? What snow?
Yeah. Man, we have tons of snow outside. Can barely
A
walk.
friend of mine sent me a message and was like, "It's coming," and it's like all like it's his patio and it's full of snow, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh man, so far so good." Like we got a little rain, but nothing. But it's coming. Like the temperature is starting now, so it's coming.
Oh yeah, I remember on a Halloween, like it was, I think like -1 here, and I checked my sister's also in Montreal like you, and it was 20 there.
Yeah,
I was like, what the heck?
yeah,
And the
yeah,
October 31st was 20. It was like basically August for us.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
It's
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 we're living in
it's
a different part of the world.
Yeah, it's honestly like, they talk about global warming. We feel it here, I'll tell you. Like, it wasn't normal. Like, Halloween was not normal. I was wearing like t shirts outside and stuff, and I was like, what is happening? Like, it's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, what have you been doing? I hear you've been playing a few games.
Yeah, no, I'm actually I wanted to do this like many months ago, but I don't know what happened. Actually, but probably was my fault this time. But yeah, I've been playing games this year, like playing games like slow down, like maybe five. But I like
Woohoo!
I played The Last of Us, both Last of Us remastered. One's a remake, one's a remaster on the PS5 earlier this year, and just because we watched the TV show and it made me in the mood, and I had a blast playing those games. Those games are awesome. And then I don't remember what, like Paper Mario. I don't want to go back too far because like people don't care about this, but Paper Mario, the Thousand Year Door, the remake on the Switch, like I absolutely like devoured that game. Like I, it's one of my favorite games of all time for a reason, and it's like I'm in a mood right now where it takes a lot for a game to pull me in, and that game just from the second I started, like it was I'm there till like I 100% completed destroyed that game in like 50 or 55 hours, and that doesn't happen for me usually. Like I'm currently playing Mario and Luigi, and we'll talk about that. I'm 50 hours in, adoring this game as well, but Paper Mario is just on a different level, and I was a bit disappointing because like the sales like it already surpassed like the GameCube sales, but that's not really saying much. Like it's probably going to hit 2 million by the end of the year, but that's nothing for the Switch, like compared to other games. That's why I'm surprised. Like when you mentioned the Dragon Quest 3, like selling over 800,000 copies and already being the best-selling game all year in Japan, it's like that's not even like half of what Paper Mario did, and that's not really considered a success. But it's like what you said. Like Japan is a different.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's like the game was just fantastic, man, and they made slight improvements here and there, and it's just like it's a classic. I wish the Paper Mario series would go back to that, like the traditional RPG system, and just like even in Mario and Luigi, like it's so much fun to play a battle with inputs with action commands. I don't know about you, but it's so much more immersive for me. So like even Mario and Luigi right now, like every single battle, I'm having fun because I'm engaged in it. So I wish I would go back to that. And also, like even Mario and Luigi, they don't have that, but they have this stupid rule now. And we've talked about this when I think when Origami King was released a few years ago. You enjoyed quite a bit of that game.
Yep.
And Nintendo has these rules where every single Toad must be named Toad, every single Koopa must be named Koopa. Like they don't want whoever makes the games to have unique characters in those races anymore. So every game they introduced a new kind of race. Like in this in Mario and Luigi right now, it's kind of those like they're kind of electronic outlets,
Okay.
and they're like there's tons of different kinds of bodies and shapes of these, but they are like they have different names and whatnot. But all the toads are all toads, all the Goombas are Goombas. Like that was not the case in Paper Mario originally, and I thought it made for much stronger stories and environments. But whatever, it's just it's a huge reason why I think I've lost interest in the Paper Mario series over the years. But anyway, that game was fantastic. And then I played Zelda a few months, and that game, like you, like probably like finished it in a week on 100% it, like devoured it, and it took me like a month or 6 weeks. Like I took my time. Like I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't like Paper Mario or even Mario Luigi. I thought like it was a really fun game and it was not a link to the past. Like it was not, but
Yeah,
nothing
yeah,
is,
yeah,
like you said.
yeah.
But still, nice distraction.
Yeah.
And now I'm currently playing Mario and Luigi, so that's pretty much it. Like still, that's not many games compared to probably what our listeners or viewers play in a year, and what I used to play like maybe just 10 years ago before I had kids. I used to play like that in a month, 5 games like that. But it's fun. Like I'm enjoy. I much prefer this actually. Like taking my time
Yeah.
playing a game than what I did years ago when I would play like 3 or 4 games every month. But then you could have asked me like 2 months later, and I probably could not remember a thing about those games. So it's something different, but it's a nice base.
But that's cool because like you are now sort of like me last year type of thing. Like you've caught up. Like I was looking last year and the year before, and I was averaging about 5-6 games a year is what I was averaging. This year, for whatever reason, this was like a crazy year for me. I don't understand. I've never been as busy as I am right now, and yet I played like 11 games this year or something. I was like, wow. Like I don't know how I did that, but okay. It's weird.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Like
So yeah, that's great, and I really want to talk to about Dragon Quest 3
oh
HD. That's
dude.
gonna be
Oof. Oh. Oh.
our main topic, but I'll leave that for the main event because first I'll talk a bit about Mario and Luigi if you don't
Yeah, yeah,
mind.
no, dude, go, go, go.
We'll go ahead on that. Did you ever play that series a bit or not much?
Mario and Luigi.
Because it was mostly a handheld series, and I know at the time you were not
Yeah, that's
always.
the thing. Like I
Well,
got
mostly it was exclusively a handheld series.
I got into like I would say my transition into handhelds really happened with the DS and the PSP because of like Dragon Quest 9. I really wanted to make sure like, I played that and stuff like that. So but Mario and Luigi not really. To be honest,
No.
not really. Like I can't even think of one. I think I did, but I couldn't. I'd be lying to you.
Yeah, I did some research a bit before because I really enjoyed the first two. Like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga was the first one and was on the Game Boy Advance, and that one I really really liked. And then the next one was on the DS. I think it was called Partners in Time or Brothers in Time, something like
Something
that.
like
And
that,
that
yeah.
one was my favorite one. That one. And then they had Bowser's Inside Story on the DS, and it turns out this is the best-selling Mario RPG ever. Bowser's Story
Really
sold
interesting.
almost 5 million copies. Yeah, that's better than Paper Mario. That's
Wow.
better than Mario and Luigi. Even better than Super Mario RPG, which people like hold in high regards, but didn't actually sell like
Yeah, well, no, of
gangbusters.
course not, right? Like that
Yeah,
was at the era of Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger, everyone calls like one of the greatest RPGs ever made, but it actually didn't sell well here because
yeah.
it was the time when.
Yeah, but even then, back then, like very few games broke a million
Yeah,
or
yeah,
even 10.
exactly, exactly.
Like now, like you have a lot of games that
Mm,
broke those numbers, and
mm.
they're not even like I remember like a million copies for like Tomb Raider a few years ago was considered a huge disappointment.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
things have changed, but yeah, Mario and Luigi Inside
Okay.
Bowser's Inside Story was actually the
Huh.
most, and it's by far I think it doubled every other Mario RPG ever made.
Wow.
So that game was huge, but I for some reason never I clicked. I played it for a few like maybe 10 hours and stopped. I remember at the time when I was actually in the hospital when I played that game. I had a pneumonia, never
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
know how to pronounce, and I was in the hospital for like a few days, and I played it there, and I stopped for whatever reason. And then Dream Team came out on the 3DS, and that was when I started really getting frustrated with the series because they would have tutorials every single
Okay.
time.
Okay.
So every time they would introduce a new ability, they would beat you to the ground like with it. Like if there was a new puzzle, they wouldn't even give you the chance to try
Yeah.
and figure it out by yourself. They would solve it for you. So it was really, really frustrating. I
Mm,
was like, they're not even letting us play these games anymore.
mm.
And then so when Mario and Luigi Paper Jam later came out, on the 3DS as well. I was really excited because it was a mix with Paper Mario and Mario Luigi, but that was actually the probably the worst game of the bunch. Like
Mm.
it's the worst game of the bunch. And then obviously we're down to Brothership, which just came out maybe 3 weeks ago. And I want to talk to you about because Tim mentioned it a bit, but I'm pretty sure Tim
Oh God,
probably
no, no,
played for like
like
5 minutes.
Tim, yeah,
If
yeah.
that,
Like
yeah.
I'm sure
And just
Tim basically watched a preview of it, and that was his, oh, I
his
played it.
professional opinion, yeah. But and it got a lot of controversy because I don't know if you know, IGN gave it a five on
Well,
10.
that's what. So I wanted you to talk about it. Like, so here's what I was thinking. Like, we can do whatever you want, but like, I figured you'd talk a little bit about it, and then I was gonna ask you why. Like, I saw also on Reddit, like it's getting like a weird mixed thing. It seems like like critically, is that what you say? Like from the media, it seems to be a little bit of a mixed bag, but on Reddit, which is something I started to do this year, to just it's actually been kind of fun. You should check it out, where you put in like a game or whatever, and it's almost like the Nintendo message boards from years ago, but not. And you can see what the people are saying, and it's really cool because it's like fans seem to actually really like the game, but the media seemed to be like a mixed bag. I was gonna ask you what's up with that.
Yeah, I think the IGN review really skewed it in that because besides IGN, like most place gave it like high sevens, eights, even high nines, but IGN really skewed it down. And IGN obviously is a bigger site than most, so that's why it came that. But I wanted to talk because I read that review word, every single word of that review, and that was after I had played the game like for like 20 hours because I didn't want to read it right away because I knew I wanted to play the game, so I didn't want it to like influence my opinion before I played it. But
Right.
then I played it 20 and I was already in love with the game, and I read the review. And to be fair, a lot of the reviews point I agreed with. Like there was a lot that I agree with. Like one of the things that the review mentioned is that there's a lot of tutorials in the beginning. Like I said with Dream
Yeah,
Team,
yeah, yeah.
like they don't let you solve the puzzles. I agreed with that, but then I found that unlike Dream Team, it kind of goes away. Like now I'm like 50 hours in, and they introduce new mechanics and figure it out. That's basically what you have to do, and it's perfect. Like it's not like advanced physics or anything, so it's not like it's impossible. But like, and there was a bunch of other things they mentioned that I agreed with. I just didn't. I don't feel, and that's personal, that it's as downgrading as they made it feel. Like for me, I really like the story so far. I really like the characters and the islands. The review did not, and that's fair. It doesn't have to. I thought the score was a bit surprising, like a 5 on 10. I don't know. I'm not a professional reviewer, so what do I know? But yeah, my biggest issue with the game, and many people have mentioned this, and you might have seen it, is that since the beginning of the series, like Mario jumps with A, Luigi jumps with B. So then when you're in a battle, Mario needs to jump with A and you need to press A at certain
Yeah,
points
yeah.
to keep on, and Luigi is B. But when you select with Luigi in the other games, you would select the jump button, you would press B, and then you would go in the battle and you continue on. In this game, for some reason that nobody knows, you have to press A with Luigi when you're in the command, and then switch to B
Okay.
when you're
Yeah,
in
I get
the
it.
action.
I get it.
So like, it's still happening to me in 50 hours in. I'll press A, and then when I'll go to jump an enemy, I'll still be on A because
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. It's muscle
it's
memory.
just so
You're
stupid why they decided to make that change. I don't understand because every single game has been you press B with Luigi, you press A with Mario, and then you don't get mixed up. So it's a tiny little thing that like, it would be easily fixable, but I don't think they will. But I just don't understand why they made that change. Like, did anybody ever complained about this in the past? That's probably the only thing. I want to mention something because Tim did say it, and again with his 2 minutes of experience, that this was a very easy game. And I know I'm not as good as I once was, and I never really was good at video games. But man, this game is kicking my ass. After the 30-hour mark, there are bosses that took me 45 minutes, and I've lost 4 times. I've seen the game over screen so many times compared to other games. Like, yeah, this game is really, really hard. at the end there. Like most people, this is a game that most people will play for 10 hours. Probably will
Mhm.
never see the end of it, but if you do, it's really challenging. Like it's not an easy game. Like I'm not gonna tell you it's Dark Souls, not even close. But to say this is an easy game, like, come on. It's not. And I'm sure there'll be someone in the comments, oh, it's so easy. Yeah, there are some people out there who are really good at games. Like, and it's not like I'm a 2-year-old kid. Like I've played games all my life. I can understand how to play a game, but this game is kicking my ass right now, and I love it for that. It's
Yeah,
fun,
but
but
that's
it's
good. Yeah, exactly.
not frustrating because when you see the game over screen, it says try again, so you can click try again and start the battle again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So it's not like you lose all the last hour of progress or anything. So
yeah.
that's fun. But I just wanted to mention that don't listen to Tim, guys. It's not necessarily an easy game. Don't listen to Tim in general.
I was
Actually,
just gonna say that
would be a good advice.
the general rules just don't listen to Tim.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so funny. No, cool. I wish I had more time because once you started texting me about it, you were talking about it. I was like, ah, cool. Like that sounds good. And that was released. Wasn't that released almost at the exact same time as Dragon Quest or a week before?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly a week before.
You're probably hearing my cat, everybody, and like it's okay. He's just singing the song of his people. It's fine. So no, cool. I don't know what to say. I don't really have any. I haven't tried it, so. But I will say that with these types of games, like sometimes, like yeah, there's like mechanics or whatever that yeah are just difficult, but are still rewarding. You know. Yeah. Okay. I don't have anything else. That's all I got,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised by the length too. Like I'm 50 hours in right now, and I think I'm near the end, but I thought I was near the end at 40. So
Yeah, that's pretty
we'll see.
impressive. When you told me that, and I was like, and I lied to you the other day because you were asking me like how far I was like in Dragon Quest, and I think I told you I was like 28 hours or something like that. That was actually a lie. I was off. I was like only like 22, 23 hours in. So like yeah, that's good is what I'm saying. Like 50 hours? That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, no, it's cool. I'm doing like all the side quests and everything, so that's
Yeah.
obviously like adding hours. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it so far.
Very cool. Next.
Next, we'll talk about Dragon Quest because that's the main event. Like obviously, I already have the game. I'm just waiting to finish Mario and Luigi. Start it. Hopefully that'll be this week, but we'll see. I'm actually like I'm getting a dog this weekend.
Oh really?
Yeah, my girlfriend's dad will be in town with his girlfriend, and they moved to another apartment, and they're not allowed pets anymore. So we'll take over for that. So that's
What
going to
kind
be
of dog is
something.
it?
I don't know.
Okay,
I
great,
don't know
great.
nothing about races of dogs, breeds.
Well,
but,
take a picture and send me a picture.
Yeah, we've met her before twice, and she's a nice dog. 7 years old, so she's a bit older, but it's gonna be nice.
Yeah, that's
Just
nice.
obviously have a bit less free time. Like
Yeah, whatever. That's fine. We have to do more of these podcasts, man, because the thing with Tim is like he's always focused on he plays like the same 6 games forever. So it doesn't make it that interesting. At least with I know with you've been playing Pokemon, it's the same problem, right? Like it's not that interesting for listeners, but you playing more games, that's good. Like it spices things up. And Dragon Quest, man, I'm still super pissed, man, that I had to do what I had to do. So I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but like I ordered the collector's edition, of course, like months and months and months ago. They ship it early, and like a whole bunch of folks I know in the US got their copy before release date, which was super cool. Canada Post or Post Canada goes on strike. So my copy is stuck in some warehouse or whatever somewhere. And so I had ordered the Switch version because Dragon Quest and Nintendo, you know, they've been together like forever, but I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to get the digital version of the Switch version that I already have. That doesn't make any bloody sense. So I was like, well, I can compare and contrast. So I got the PS5 version, But I'm still super nervous, man, because like I better come in. Because
Yeah.
last year or the year before, when they went on strike, I lost 2 packages. And if I lose this, I've had every collector's edition of Dragon Quest, for like what, the last like 25 years or something. And I'm going to be super pissed because it's going to cost me a fortune if I have to eBay that or whatever.
You just
And
said made me think of something because I know you've mentioned that the Switch version apparently has some frame rate
well,
issues
that's
and what.
that's Reddit there. Reddit
Because like,
users.
yeah, no, just because you mentioned this with Zelda, and people mentioned this with Mario and Luigi, and I know I'm an idiot, but I have noticed nothing
Okay,
with
so
Zelda.
no. So Zelda, it's only in a couple of situations, and the only way that you'll even notice it if you're not one of those guys that I'm with you, Steven. I'm right there with you. I'm
No, it's
not.
just because you mentioned it like in a serious matter, and people are mentioning it. I'm like, do people for like okay, it's good that you mention it, but do you people not realize that the like 95% of gamers that play these games will never notice this
Yeah,
because
it's if I were reviewing Zelda, I would have.
just one last point before you mention it's just like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, for example, that is noticeable for
Mhm,
everybody.
mhm.
Like it's really big issues, but I'm guessing the Zelda issues, the Mario and Luigi issues, like are minor issues
Yeah,
that the elitists would prefer not to have to, and that's fine. But the way they mentioned it was like in the same category of Scarlet and Violet. Like you even mentioned that the Switch was showing its time with
yeah.
Zelda, and I was like, I played that game, and I didn't see anything. But again, I'm a dumbass, so
No, no,
that
but
might.
okay, so it's not like okay, so like if I were reviewing Zelda, I would have mentioned it but not taken any marks off at all. Because do you remember when you played Breath of the Wild for the first time and you walked into I don't remember if it was actually called the Lost Woods, but you know what I'm talking about? Like when you walked into that area, there was all the stuff floating around. It took a hit. The frame rate took a hit. You noticed like as you were walking, Link was slow motion ish. Like it wasn't as smooth as. So that happened a lot in Echoes of Wisdom when you would go into the. I don't even remember what it's called now. The whatever that other world or whatever it was, sometimes that would happen, like where it
Okay.
would slow down a bit, but I wouldn't take marks off. Not It's not the
I can
same as
honestly say
Pokemon.
that I've never even noticed that what you're just saying, and I'm not
Interesting.
saying
Okay.
you're
Okay.
wrong.
So
I
so dude,
never noticed it.
you're gonna have to tell me with Dragon Quest. I can't because I don't know if I'm ever gonna get my Switch copy. On the PS5, what I thought was fascinating is you have the option to do the typical graphics or frame rate, and I was like, seriously, like
Yeah.
seriously. So I've only noticed it like once or twice, even on the PS5, where if you hold down the I don't have my manette there. Like I think it's going to be the A button. If you hold basically whatever on the diamond, whatever the bottom right is, um, that's your run button. And the only time I ever noticed it, I went to like one area and I noticed that instead of like like the regular pace, I thought it was walking. That's the only time I ever noticed, but I have no clue. I haven't played the Switch one yet, so I don't know.
Yeah. I probably won't be able to
No,
help
but
you
that's
on that.
good. Then that's fantastic. If that's the case, then giddy up. That's great.
All right.
So what am I saying?
You were talking about your copy not arriving of
Yeah,
Dragon
no,
Quest
that's
3.
yeah. So that's that. Don't have much more to say about that. I'm really hoping that it comes in, and I want someone else to play the game because it really sucks right now that I can't talk about this. Like
Oh,
I
you can. Yeah, you can talk about it because I'm really looking forward to playing it. I want to finish Mario and Luigi first, but it just yeah, because I never played the third one, and it looks amazing from what I've seen. It's just I'm really worried about the difficulty
yeah.
because
So
like I said, Mario and Luigi is difficult, but it's not in the same ballpark as GQ3, obviously. So I know I'm gonna get my ass kicked. And I know there's a difficulty
There
slider,
there
but
is. Yeah.
I don't want to play it because it seems that you can't die on easy, and
Yeah.
that's no. I would have liked an easy mode, but not dying it's basically auto win, right? So
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah,
I
so
was a bit
okay, so
disappointed when I learned about that.
I have a lot to say about this. Just keep me on track, okay? Because otherwise I'm going to go all over the place. So, first things first, I'm so happy, honestly guys, like I'm so happy that you get to experience this game the same day Japan does. If I were still doing reviews, if I still had time to do reviews, I would probably talk 10 minutes about why this is so significant. And it has to be the same way you felt when Pokemon did that. Like when
Yeah,
Pokemon was day and date. Like, guys, this is the first time in my life ever that we're playing a Dragon Quest, a numbered. I'm not talking builders or any of the side series, but this is the first time where a numbered entry, remake or otherwise, is available the same day worldwide. And man, it's just such an amazing feeling to be able to play this in English for the very first time without playing it in Japanese. Yes, there's part of me that misses those days where it was cool, like you were the only one that was kind of playing it. But I just wanted to start with that because it's really gonna suck if if this does not do well and they go back to just keeping it a Japanese series. I'm gonna cry. Like, you will see man tears because it's awesome. Like, this is absolutely awesome. I have said this for 20, 30 years now. I have said the same damn thing. You have to keep releasing the games. If you stop, that's when the series goes into like these dark ages and these lulls and stuff like that. So anyway, just wanted to start with that. Now, in terms of difficulty, you have 3 difficulty modes and this is the way they work. Basically, easy grants you more experience, more gold, and cuts their HP, and with the side effect of you can't die. I don't know why they did that. It would have been okay to do everything else. I don't know why they did that.
okay.
I don't get it.
So I could technically, when I'm grinding, I could technically switch it to easy to make it faster,
That's
and then go
what
back.
that's what all the
That's cool.
guides, yeah, that's what the Japanese
Yeah, that's
guides are
cool.
saying. They're saying switch it to easy. There's one island. This is a complaint I actually have, but whatever, we'll talk about that after. But there's Slime Islands. Do you know this or
Yeah,
no?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So I'll just, for those that don't know, Dragon Quest VIII introduced Slime Islands. And the idea with this was you could go there and you were guaranteed to get like Metal King slimes and all the other ones, liquid, metal slimes, etc., etc. And so it became sort of like a staple of the series. And so they introduced Slime Island into this version of Dragon Quest III, which is super cool. But it's painful. Okay, this is one of the elements that they didn't really alter much is the grind. So the grind is real, like the old school grind here. So I would strongly recommend, if you want a less painful grind, yeah, switch it to easy. You'll get more exp, you'll get more gold, enemies will be easier. It'll be a better time for all. And then when you go into the dungeons or anywhere else, switch it back to normal. Draconian has been a huge disappointment. So I played on Draconian for like, I don't know, an hour, and I was like, F this. Because basically they don't tweak the artificial intelligence, or that doesn't really, it's not really true AI, but whatever. They don't, the computer doesn't get smarter per se. Instead, what happens is every enemy has a greater HP pool and you get less gold and less experience. Like, F that. Like, there's no way, because it basically makes the grind forever. So I immediately switched it. I was like, no way. Because enemies are not harder, it's just longer.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's not, no thanks. That's not fun. And I'll mention my little It's not a complaint per se, but I kind of wish that every Dragon Quest game now, it's just a Jarrod thing. It's whatever, but like I wish when you got to the end game, so like literally the end, like right before you're about to face off with the final boss, or even after you beat the final boss, I really wish that they had a grind exploit that you could use. It's been kind of the case ever since, like, I would say Dragon Quest 8. There's like an exploit that allows you to just boom, like if you really want to do the end game content. So if you don't know, guys, the Dragon Quest series always has what is called post game, and like it's basically usually there's super bosses and stuff like that unlock after you've beaten the final boss of the game. Dragon Quest 11 was the exception, where there was a whole other act, like a whole other story that continued after. And these bosses are designed for you to be at like level 85, level 90. If you're not at that level, like you won't have, like one hit and your entire party will be dead. It's meant for like the hardcore players to really, you have to really maximize like what classes you have and stuff. Otherwise you're just, even if you're level 99, you're still going to get destroyed. And I love this content. Like, it's some of my favorite content, like especially like in Dragon Quest 7, the original Dragon Warrior 7, you fought God. Literally, the character's name was God. Like, it was hilarious. It was like, I'm going to beat the shit out of God. Like, it was just hysterical. Anyway, but in this game, because it predates the introduction of a Metal King slime, your maximum EXP grind is a liquid metal slime. That's 12,000 EXP. That's nothing. So I'm at the point right now where my characters are like mid 40s, and we're already like around 100,000 EXP is what's required. So imagine in the 80s, like how high it's going to be, like 600,000. And when the maximum EXP you can gain is 12,000, do you realize how long it's going to take to grind out all the... So, and I looked online, I read all the Japanese websites. There's a slime island where you have like a 1 in 50 chance of getting 8 liquid slimes that appear at once. But even then, don't forget that they only have a 33% chance of staying. Yeah. So they have a 67% chance of running away. And in this game, you don't have access to lock them in place, which means like at most you're going to get like 3. You know, maybe you get super lucky and you get all 8. Those 8 that you got are going to be like 1 in 100 battles. So that's my only sort of thing where I was like, man, why didn't they just introduce Metal King slimes to the island after you beat the final boss as like, okay, for those that really want to go crazy, here you go. If any of you know that I'm like wrong, or if you have other suggestions or whatever, please let me know, because I'm not looking forward to the post game. It's going to be brutal if I have to grind for 80 hours. No, so okay, so for you I think you're going to be fine.
I'm afraid, like we've mentioned, like the classes you told me, like basically level up until get all the moves, then switch. And I'm like, oh my God, this is
okay. So
seems like a lot of work.
It's not, and I'm wrong. Okay, so I have to keep remembering. You're playing on the Switch. You don't give a crap about achievements and trophies. You don't care about any of that. So I'm wrong. What you typically will do is you'll take a class. Your default class, I know you. It's going to be the hero who you can't change classes. He's locked as the hero. You've got a warrior, a priest, and a mage. That's what you're going to do. Like, guarantee that's what you're going to do. It's what the game even offers you. So, like, when you talk to, I always forget her name, Patty, I think it is. When you talk to her to switch your classes, she's going to be like, oh, look, I already have these 3 characters pre-made for you. Do you want them? I would not recommend doing that. I would recommend going upstairs, and you can create your own classes. I would just recommend keep the same 3 classes. That's totally fine, but make them your own. You can name them. You can, you can do, like, if you want, you can customize them male, female, like their hair color and all that kind of stuff. So why would you just take generic characters when you can make your own? But I would
Yeah, I
start
wanted
with
Jarrod in my party.
what's that?
I wanted Jarrod in my party.
Yeah, perfect. Put a
Always have a
Jarrod
Jarrod in my
and
party.
make sure it's female and like the classic. So don't worry about that. What happens is by the time you unlock the All Trades Abbey, you're going to be around 20-ish, level 20-ish. What I've been telling folks now is look at what you have unlocked at that point with the other 3 characters, and typically level 21, level 22, okay, somewhere around there, switch to, and I can give you the list of like which characters are best to switch into what, because it's not worth it. The reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because there is a damn trophy for unlocking every ability in the game. And to do that, you need to, every class, I have to unlock all of the abilities. What's super cool, though, is you know which ones you're missing. Because when you go into abilities or you go into spells, you can flip through the pages and you'll see question marks, which means obviously you haven't
What
unlocked
if
all.
let's say I'm a level 22 mages and I want to switch to blacksmith, let's say, and
That
then
doesn't
I go to
exist, but
blacksmith.
sure.
I know, but let's go ahead, blacksmith, and then I'm a level 42 blacksmith, and I want to go back to the mage. Will I start back at 21 when I switch back to the mage?
Okay, so that's the only thing I have not checked, but I don't think so. I think you go back to level 1.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you go back to level 1 here in this one, just because they keep warning you. And so I haven't done it. I haven't done it yet because I just.
Yeah, no, I'm just
But
curious.
I'm pretty sure the answer is no. You'll go back to level 1. However, and this is for everyone listening, it's not as bad as it might seem. So right now I am in. I don't want to like spoil anything, so I'll just say like I'm in the final dungeon of the reg game, so not post game. I have, what was she? She was a priest. I took her from a priest. I unlocked everything, made her a thief. Good God, guys, get a thief on your party when one of these people turn level 21. For the love of Pete, do that. Because I can't tell you how freaking annoying the mini medals are in this one. They are so annoying because it's the old school NES Famicom system of you can search bags. Bags in this one, I hate. It's the graphic is like so small. It's not, I don't know why they changed that from like Dragon Quest 7, where it was like a nice big bag that was hanging on the wall that was like you could see. With this one, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's so tiny, man, where it's so easy to miss. You've got jars, you've got barrels, you've got those annoying bags, but here's the part that pisses me off, like, drives me crazy, is you can search your feet. I hate that. I have always hated that. So that means that a mini medal can literally be anywhere. Because
Can't press A. You have to go in the menu.
No. You can still press A. Thankfully, like a little box pops up that says interact, and you just press that, and it says, "Oh, you looked at your feet, and you pick up a medal." The thing is that without a thief, you just don't do it. You're gonna waste so many hours, like me, like being obsessed, looking everywhere. With a thief, what's super cool is you can unlock ability very early on, like probably level 4 or 5, something like that, called Nose for Treasure. And then with that, the thief will say, oh, there's 4 treasures in this map. And then you can lock another one that's like Snoop, I think is what it's called in English. And when you do that, it highlights where the treasures are on the map. So It makes it so much easier. So just do that if you're interested in MIDI medals, and you should be interested in MIDI medals because, like, guys, honestly, like, you can get some of the best gear early on if you you do that. But you do need to remember that for as beautiful as the game looks, the new story elements they added, which are awesome, which are all about Ortega, your father, none of that was in the original. None of that was in the remake on the Super Famicom. So it's super cool because you actually get to know more about your father and like the adventure that he went on and why you're important. And they also dust in some really cool stuff for Dragon Quest 1, which I really like. I won't spoil anything, but like I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like they did a really good job of that. You just have to remember that this is a Famicom game. So that's why it is tough, man. I've had regular mobs kill me, like wipe out my whole party because these jerks love to put I forget what it's called, but it's a spell where it prevents you from casting magic.
Okay.
And there's nothing you can do. It's not, you can't reverse this because it's not an affliction on you. It's put on the whole map, so it also affects enemies. Right? The only catch is the enemies, they often pair one of those douchebags with these dragons that can use abilities. So abilities aren't magic, right? They're not spells. So you can use your abilities, which are powerful and, you know, cool stuff. The thing is, so can they, and their abilities are often like Inferno, which is a fire spell that hits all of your team and takes off like 100 HP. So you end up where like you almost get a party wipe before you can even attack. and
Yeah.
and so it's just little things like that. And my last little thing, because I forgot, I jumped around with the leveling. It's not that bad. I was telling you guys where I was, like I was in the final dungeon and yada yada yada. So one of my characters, I just switched to level one, and they're in the final dungeon and they can survive.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's why, like, it's your base stats, they do go down, but not by much, and they grow exponentially fast. So like within 3 battles, that level 1 character was already level like 15 and could hold their own. Like they were good.
Yeah, that was a similar situation in Dragon Quest Monsters, the Crown Prince, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would switch, the monsters would be level 1, but they would overkill, and of course, since you're level 1, you level up very fast. So yeah, that particular feature I'm not really afraid of. It's just like but I'll get it. I'm sure it's
yeah.
just,
I just hope you like
I'll die
the
a
game.
lot.
Like I hope you enjoy the game. I don't think you'll get frustrated until you get to around Baramos. That's the Well, okay, well, if I'm speaking with Dragon Quest people, you all know what I refer to as like the Calamity event. So you know that Dragon Quest has been like this forever, pretty much, where you have like Act 1 is your main story, then something happens, it's either good, bad, or whatever, and then that unlocks the second act of the game. So Baramos is basically Act 1. It's the end of Act 1, and that's where they introduce what I just talked about. Like where you have one of those guys that prevents you from using magic, and then they use all their abilities on you. And I did notice that, I don't know what it is with this game, but all of the enemies, man, have hyper agility. So if you don't know, folks, agility is the stat that controls who goes first in a battle. And I don't know what it is with this game. It's as if they gave every enemy like ridiculous agility, so they almost always go before you, which means you have to be defensive immediately. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know why. Anyway, it's not a bad thing. I hope I'm not coming across like this game is garbage. It's not at all. I'm having an absolute blast, but because I love the series so much, there's just these little, there's these little things. And I truly hope I am wrong about the post game, because that is going to be painful, man.
Yeah. No, I looking really forward to it. So hopefully I'm going to be able to finish Mario Luigi this week and jump into that. And
I hope so too.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't played like a Dragon Quest game since 11, right? Like not a side game, but a real game, like
Mm.
since 11, I think. Yeah, because I really enjoyed 7. Like 7 surprised the heck out of me, and then 11 was
Yeah,
the first
that dude, I
game
still
I
cannot
ever.
believe. Like, I still can't believe that you were into, because 7 is the most difficult one to get into of all the Dragon Quest games because you play the same dungeons like 15 times each.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't know what was it with that game. I don't know was it time travel or whatever. I really enjoyed it. But then 11 was the first one I ever 100% had, like I've never done that with a Dragon Quest game before, so I'm really glad. So I'll jump into 3. We'll see. Like the difficulty might be a turn off because
I
like
don't
I
think
see
so.
video games.
I
We'll see.
really don't think so. You're making it sound like it's like super hard. It's not super hard.
Well, I'm telling you that Mario Luigi is super hard. So that's what kind of baby I am right now.
Yeah, but
So
you
we'll
say
see.
that, but like I could play the same game and die exactly. We'll never forget the minecart incident of
Yeah,
2000.
yeah.
But what do
No,
you think
Mario
is?
Luigi is different because there's a lot of you have to input commands, so there's a lot of like it's like if you're not good at Mario, which I don't think you are. When I saw you play at Mario Maker a few years ago, so there's stuff like that you need to like the timing. The problem Mario Luigi for me is the damn every attack the enemies do in this game technically are dodgeable.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a god, you could play the entire game without ever getting hit.
God.
That's the problem I have. Like I'm good with the action commands, but dodging attacks, like I'm basically useless. Like like I'm just a punching bag for the enemies. But yeah,
So I'm curious. I'm actually curious. Like, what do you think is actually happening? I just want to stay on the Dragon Quest subject there, but like, what the hell do you think is actually happening with 12?
yeah, we have many discussions. I mentioned, and you've denied it. You not denied. You said you didn't think it was this at all. When what's his name died like earlier, like the creator or the guy who,
Well, which one? Toriyama, the art?
yeah, the guy who like basically drew
Yeah,
Dragon
yeah, yeah,
Ball
yeah.
Z and
Akira
Dragon
Toriyama.
Quest.
Yeah.
When he died, like maybe I thought maybe he was sick for a while, and then that might have like
So the reason,
delayed.
dude, the reason why I said no is because Famitsu reached out to Yuji Horii and was like, "You're the last guy, right? Of the three, the composer Koichi Sagayuma, oh my god, I can't even think. Sorry, Toriyama. The two of them passed away, so it's only Yuji Horii now. And he was saying that their work was already completed for
Okay.
12. I'm more of the fact of like what we talked about, like were they truly going to change the gameplay? Like, was that what it
Well, according
was?
to Tim, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It could be a puzzle game. It's still you still need to grow up and not be a purist.
yes, sure.
But yeah, I think like what you mentioned about Square's other games, Final Fantasy being really disappointing in sales. Like you mentioned before that you hope that Dragon Quest doesn't ever become a
Mhm.
Japanese exclusive series anymore. And to be honest, I don't think they can even afford that because these games cost so much money that even though they're really selling well in Japan, like those sales alone, I don't think it's sustainable. Like they need to grow Dragon Quest
Yeah,
as
they do.
a worldwide franchise. They need to do that, and like obviously being a worldwide release day one is the smart move. Like
Mm.
Pokemon actually started doing that, I think, in 2013. So they're quite a bit behind on the curve, but at least they're doing it. So I think that maybe they are reimagining. Like if they had plans to actually change the battle style to like a more action, and then they've seen the recent sales of Final Fantasy, maybe they're doing what they did with Dragon Quest Nine. Or remember, Dragon Quest Nine originally was supposed to be like an
Yeah,
action game, more of an action game, and they decided to change that. So
yeah,
maybe they did that, and they were quite ahead. So they have to, like, obviously rework the game a lot. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know because something clearly is happening. It's been a while since Dragon
yeah.
Quest 11 has been released, and we've had nothing. Like, did we even have a screenshot of
No,
Dragon Quest 12? No.
no.
So like this tells me that
Well,
it's
something, dude, like for even the HD 2D remake, something happened. Like something happened. And I don't know if we'll ever find out the news, but something clearly happened because if you go back and you watch the reveal trailer, which was the exact event where they talked about Dragon Quest 12, if you go back and watch that and look at the game that we got, it's not the same game.
okay.
So I think either development was restarted or the team changed or something. Something happened with the HD 2D game. And I'm thinking, to me, honestly, I'm thinking the same thing with 12. Like, I think you may be right. Like, I think they may have like tweak the game or something like that, like to make it more action based or whatever, and then realize, like, I can't stress this enough to anyone listening. Final Fantasy 16, like, guys, that bombed so bad that like they'll never make their money. It's one of the worst selling Final Fantasies ever, and the only reason, because it has a damn good storyline, it's a great quality game, but it's not an RPG like at all. It's Devil May Cry, literally Devil May Cry. There's combos and stuff, and I'm hoping that they look at this and they realize, like, okay, we have a problem here. And what I don't understand is if they would release a HD 2D style game and called that Final Fantasy 16, like, I'm sure it would have outsold
Yeah.
what this is. It's
I think
like,
what Square is thinking is that there's a ceiling to what traditional RPGs, like besides Pokemon, like you don't see traditional RPGs selling 10 or 20 million copies, right? So I think they're seeing that there's a ceiling, and they were hoping that making it an action game could increase that ceiling. They have been wrong. Now it's up to them to figure out a way to go back to traditional RPGs and kind of make a game that can have legs, that can sell past the first month of release. And I think there are ways to do that. Like Pokemon have shown that it's
well,
possible.
that's it, dude. That's always my argument, right? Like what you just said, that is my argument to people that are like Tim's and stuff, like, oh, like turn, well, Tim's, it's different, but like with other folks where I'm like if Pokemon can do it, I understand it's a legacy franchise, it's, the merchandising and all this, I get it, but at the end of the day, the core gameplay of Pokemon is a turn-based RPG. That is what it is. You enter your commands and that's it. And people like to point to me and say, like, okay, well then why did Final Fantasy VII Rebirth not do well? I'll tell you why it didn't do well. No one wanted 3 games out of Final Fantasy VII. And I think the fact that the first game, because the first game did crazy well, is that a lot of folks were disappointed that that whole game is in Midgar. Like the whole game is in the first starting area of Final Fantasy VII, and it kind of felt not like a ripoff, but it kind of felt like, okay, guys, like, what are we gonna have 14 games in this series? Like, you're just milking it. And I swear that's what it is, because Rebirth is actually a better game than Remake. And now I think for the next one, whatever the hell they end up calling it, I think it's too late. Like, I think the damage is done, that you missed the opportunity of really remaking that game as one complete package, that now people are like, F this, like, I'm not going to give you $300 for a $100 experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. So I just think that, like, Square Enix, it's like, look, I'm with you, man. It's one of these things with like Dragon Quest where, how is this game selling? Like, for real. Yes, we know, like, in Japan, likely sold around 2 million copies by now in Japan, which, great. I mean, that's great. But they need it to sell 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, like sort of thing. And I don't know, like in North America, like, how the hell do you do that?
For Dragon Quest 3 HD, like you probably don't need that much. uh, you don't need to sell 10, 20 millions.
No,
But you
you
have to remember,
want
like
to.
you want to, like Pokemon, like they did Pokemon Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond, in 2021 were released, and those are basically like cheap remakes of DS games. Like they're in the same style as HG, and they probably don't even come close to looking as good as GAG. And those sold 16 million copies, so it's possible. But it's just I don't know. Like obviously, Dragon Quest 12 will have a much higher budget than those
Yeah.
HG remakes, so they need to sell much better. And they're probably looking at how do we do this now, because it's not realistic to only count on the Japanese market to support a franchise. Like the Japanese market is not big enough
Yeah.
to support a franchise if you're going to have that big of a budget. So it's going to be interesting to see. I hope they figure out how to market here.
Mm,
Like I don't think they'll be able to sell as many copies now, but maybe if they're smart and they keep, I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't know either,
Honestly,
because dude,
uh,
like part of me used to think, oh, maybe it was like the anime stuff, but look at Pokemon. Like I really don't, I don't know, and Dragon Quest
Dragon Quest
because
has an anime series on Netflix. I'm pretty sure they've had one in Japan for a while. Like, why don't they bring that shit here? And like, because Pokemon, like, part of the reason Pokemon
mm,
has always been a phenomenon when I was a kid, or I wasn't that young, I was in eighth grade or seventh grade when it came out. It had an anime, so we all came home and watched that anime. So of course we asked our moms and dads for
yeah.
the games, and it's to this day they still have an anime. So kids still into that game. So Dragon Quest, like they have an anime, why not bring it here? I,
Mm,
I know it's an investment, so maybe it's part of the reason. Like the slime itself is one of the most
mm.
recognizable characters, video game characters in the world. Like market that. Like Pikachu is
I
everywhere. You go in
know,
Walmart, you
dude.
go to get, it's everywhere. There's Babette, there's
Yeah.
plushes, there's everything.
Yeah. I've
It's
said
everywhere.
this. You and I have talked about this forever. Like that's exactly what I said. And now the challenge that they're gonna have, well, not they're gonna, that they have now, is because of the decisions they've made in the past. You can't, like, it's a weird situation because yes, Japan's not going to bring you enough money. You need the world, right? Like if you really want to do like a,
Depending on what kind of game you want to make, yeah.
yeah,
If you want to make a high
exactly.
budget game, yeah.
Yeah, but because of the cultural influence that this game has over there, which guys, if you've never been to Japan, you really don't know. It is a cultural staple of their society. You can't screw that up. You know what I mean? Like I understand that you want, that's always been my argument with the whole thing of like, oh, catering to the Western market. I agree. Sales wise, I agree. But there's sales, but there's also the cultural connection that this series has with that society that you can't ignore that. So how do you please both? And that's the thing that like I have no idea how they're going to do this. Like I have no idea because you can't, it means something to these people. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to explain unless you go to Japan and you really see the influences like all over the place where it's kind of like your choices are very limited here.
I'm gonna go off maybe on a, like, maybe this has nothing to do with it, but like this is Square and Enix used to be rivals, right?
Yep.
So once they merge, like, is there like some divide internally? Like, because obviously Square might want to push Final Fantasy more, Enix wants to push Dragon Quest. Was there ever a unique, like, are they truly uh, have the same vision for the Dragon Quest franchise as they do with Final Fantasy? Because Final Fantasy has been pushed heavily here in North
Mm-hmm.
America. Obviously, it's struggling right now, but it used to be pretty big. Have they had this? Are they on the same page when it comes to their franchise, or do you think there's still a divide there because of the old rivalry they used to
Well,
have?
hear me out, okay? Like just hear me out. Like if anything, it should be the exact opposite. What people forget is this wasn't a merger. Enix bought Square.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Enix's CEO became the CEO of Square Enix. So if anything, it should be the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So it doesn't it doesn't it really doesn't make sense. Yeah, during all of this happened when the Final Fantasy movie tanked. That's when Square was on the chopping block
Okay.
because like everything was going down. Enix saw the opportunity, and Enix had just released Dragon Quest VII, which was the number one selling PlayStation 1 game in history worldwide. And so they yoink, right? They just basically jumped on that and away we go. But out of respect, they classified it as a merger or whatever. But it wasn't really a merger; it was a buyout.
Okay. Okay, that's where I did not know that because like most companies usually they would put their own name before the other one if they bought it, but I guess it makes more sense than Enix Square. But
So anyway, for me, it's really going to be about that. Like, I don't know how you do this. I just don't know how you do this because like there's the respect that a whole population have for this particular series, but at the end of the day, if you don't get sales, there goes the series. So I don't know how they're going to juggle. I really don't know how they're going to juggle this.
yeah, because it seems that Japan has not turned its back on this series. It's still hugely popular
Yeah,
there.
exactly. And
It's
it
pretty
will
sad.
always be because it's like it's part honestly,
Yeah.
it's part of the culture. Like you can't like so it's like if you suddenly made Dragon Quest a I don't know what is it, near autonoma or whatever it was called, like a pure a pure action game, that's not gonna work. Like
No.
you might get North American sales, but you're
Well, you know, because
no,
like
I
you
don't think
said,
so.
like,
I don't think so. I
yeah.
really don't think so. I think Square Enix biggest problem right now, and it's not just Square Enix, it's everybody, stop trying to become Call of Duty. It's like
Yeah.
everyone look at Capcom. That's what happened with Resident Evil. They were like, screw this, we're just gonna make an action game because like, Call of Duties and stuff are doing so well. And then they saw the sales were declining after Resident Evil 5. Like that was the last big one. 6 like really did bad, and then they were like, okay, stop. Like we need to go back and do our own thing, and I'm hoping that that's what Square Enix does with Final Fantasy because I am a huge Final Fantasy fan. And I mean, if I reviewed Final Fantasy 16, I literally would have just said, this is an incredible action game, but it's not an RPG. Why do you
Yeah.
buy Final Fantasy? Do you buy Final Fantasy for the next entry in Metal Gear Solid? Like it doesn't make any sense. I was like I enjoyed the game, but my experience when I left was like this is not a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
And I never want to say that with Dragon Quest. Like, I never want to put the controller down, the manette down, and be like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, no. No, it's just I've been fearing this with Pokemon also. I don't think it's gonna happen soon. Hopefully it never does, but it's like if you look at Pokemon, like all the Pokemon spin-offs that are not like traditional RPGs, not really huge sellers. So
Well, but
it
that's
tells
my,
you what
dude, that's my
people.
point. Like, why would you, this is what I don't understand. Why would you mess with a formula that works?
Yeah, like I've always said, if Pokemon the next game like sells terribly, and then the next game after that, like yeah, maybe you need to try to change something new. But when you're like Scarlet and Violet, like and Sword and Shield, all both 25 million copy sellers, I don't think you should look at changing stuff.
Me
Like
neither. Me neither. And Tim can say whatever
just
the hell he
improve.
wants.
Like I'm not saying when I'm saying that, I'm not saying don't improve. I'm just saying like the core formula
Exactly.
works. Just improve on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. That's why like when Tim talks about like all turn based yada yada yada, it's like for me it's like no guys, seriously. Keep what works, right? The metagame of Pokemon is what originally blew my mind. Like I always thought it was a kids game and stuff until you convinced me to to actually play it. And once I played it, I realized, holy crap, this is way deeper than I thought. And people say the same thing about Dragon Quest. I hear that a lot, where people are like, you know, like, oh, it's very, very simple. Yeah, it's simple until it isn't. You know what I mean? And it's a totally different experience than Pokemon, obviously, but it's why I like the challenge of those super bosses, is because you have to know what you're doing. There's no such thing as just out grinding them when the super boss is level 99.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, bring it. And I love that.
Dragon Quest, has that.
Yeah, that's what, dude, like Dragon Quest 8, is that considered a remake, a remaster on the DS, the 3DS?
Yes, yeah, it's a remake. It's just called Dragon Quest 8 though, but
okay, so
I don't remember what it did is no more random encounters. That was a big thing, I think.
Yeah.
A few voice actors actually were changed.
Some, yeah. But the biggest thing was it Memories Valley or whatever the hell, the post game of that. They kept the original post game, which was cool. That was the Dragonian whole stuff, which was so funny because so many players never played that. And ironically, the third act or the post game is all about the hero. So if you think back to Dragon Quest VIII, people do this all the time. You had Jessica, you had all the other characters that you learn their backstory, but the one character that you actually didn't learn his backstory was the hero. All you knew was that he was at the castle, he was a guard, whatever, but you didn't find out until the post game where that whole chapter is all about him. And I was like, so many players never experienced that, because when the credits roll, they turn the game off. And
you also have to remember that most players don't even see the credits, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's totally fair. But that game, to this day, I loved the challenge that they introduced, where you basically, it was like a big hallway and you went one room at a time, and you were basically fighting some of the most powerful enemies ever in the Dragon Quest series. And what was so awesome was that you had to use a completely different mechanic for every single boss, and you had to figure out what that mechanic was, because you could not outgrind them. And to this day, I still say I have never swore so much in my life with some of those guys, because literally you'd be down to like your last HP, literally one, and so would they. And it was like, just depending on what you did, like, love that. And that's why I know we got to go, but it's why I was saying last night when we were texting, I was saying, like, man, I just hope Access. I really hope and pray that they do something to give us access to some of these games. Like, if the Switch 2 ends up with like a clamshell or something, like, give us all the 3DS stuff, you know, or give us like all the DS games or whatever. Just, I would love to be able to go back easily in like 2 or 3 years and like replay that, because that is such a good one. And now I gotta go.
Yeah, same here. All right, well, that's good. Hopefully next time I'll actually put the phone somewhere where I don't have to move and my arm is not like
falling asleep.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an experiment, so like we only do this once every year or two, so it's not that bad.
No, all right, man. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining. That was really fun. I enjoyed this.
Me too.
Okay,
all right,
later,
bye.
guys. Ciao.